I promised myself that I wasn't going to beat a dead horse over all this debate stuff, but it's almost like, how can we not, man? It's the most embarrassing debate in probably all of modern world history, right? But even with that, there's a lot to talk about. The Supreme Court just stepped up and literally embarrassed the Department of Justice over insane, just unconstitutional, really truly politically motivated overreach concerning the way they charged hundreds and hundreds of J6ers. So we have a lot to cover. There is a lot to talk about, but selfishly, I just cannot get enough of truly just insane limousine liberal propagandists just coping and filleting each other over Joe Biden's performance in the presidential debate. I mean, I can't get enough of watching these people lose their minds. And lucky for them, the faithful, vote blue, no matter who crew, they got to hear from Joe's elder abuser herself. And this crowd knows two things. They definitely know who's in charge here. And they know that the only way to keep the good doctor here in charge, the only way to save democracy is, of course, to lock up Donald Trump. They know what they have to do. And it's a quiet part out loud, man. They aren't even pretending anymore. Just when you watch this, look at poor old Joe's face while his old lady does basically all his talking for him.
Here in North Carolina and across America, who are working hard to find a secure place in the middle class. The moms who worry that their daughter... I saw in him then the same character that I see in him today. And even though he has faced unimaginable tragedies, his optimism is undaunted.
He's got more trials coming up. Time for that. Look.
Yeah, I mean, that's a crazy moment. I mean, these people are truly and fully insane. And Joe condones it. He says, well, we've got time for that. They're screaming about locking up Donald Trump. And he says, well, we got time for that. He says he's got a lot of cases to go. It's insane. Now, obviously, there's going to be plenty of leftists that try to draw some sort of equivalence between their own chants and the chants about Hillary. But I think if they can look objective at it, which they usually cannot, but if they could, they're going to see a couple key differences. I mean, the most notable being, of course, Hillary actually committed crimes. But even more important than that, the MAGA crowd chanted to lock up Hillary after a win, which Trump, of course, didn't do. These folks want to lock up Donald Trump so they can win. These are very, very different things. But anyway, I mean, this is all just crazy, but every day in Biden's America, things get crazier. And really, I think about this debate, Joe's current state. I think everything surrounding this deal is going to be some sort of litmus test. It's going to show which leftist brain can actually be saved. And it's going to show us the ones that are truly lost forever. I mean, just completely and totally lost. I mean, even some of the cringiest of nut jobs have proven that even they can be snapped out of insanity.
And the whole time the split screen is killing Biden. Because he's got his mouth open, he looks confused, doesn't know where he is. He's lost his train of thought at least twice in like disastrous shape. Those are gonna be played a billion times in viral video after viral video. This is an epic disaster. I see people online saying, well, okay, that answer wasn't so bad. No, it doesn't. Any particular answer doesn't matter at all. This thing is over. He looks like he's barely surviving. I don't mean the debate, I mean life. And so there's no person that has a single brain cell left in their head who thinks that Joe Biden is the best candidate to take on Donald Trump. You would have to be even crazier than Donald Trump to think that. This thing is over. I'll guarantee you this. I would bet show me a Democratic politician and I will bet them any amount of money that Joe Biden's going to lose this election if he's the candidate. It's a guaranteed loss. You're telling me this is the most important election of our lifetimes?
This is so much worse than my worst nightmares of what it could be like in every way. The visual stuff is obvious. The staring off, the looking down, it looks terrible. His voice is so utterly weak and feeble. And honestly, like that immediately hits you when you see him, but what he says and what he doesn't say on the most important core issues of the election are even worse. Trump Trump won on abortion in the debate. Trump comes out of the January 6th stuff looking fine. He comes out of the criminal conviction stuff looking fine. Joe Biden looks worse on democracy after that. He looks worse on criminality after that.
Even the Young Turks, man, even crazy Hamas-loving Cenk Uygur himself can only be pushed so far. And I'm actually impressed. I'm actually impressed, if I'm being honest, but almost as impressive in its own, like, really, really sick and twisted way. The ladies on The View, man, the fair and balanced, thoughtful, true believers on The View, they are unfazed. I mean, they are riding with Biden, man. But this is pretty funny to watch. I mean, it's sick, but it's funny. I mean, half of them are literally losing their minds over Democrats calling for Joe to just hang it up, retire, just go away. And the other half are sort of kind of admitting, yeah, I mean, this is not going well. Joe might have to go. I mean, it's crazy to watch the two it's just strange. Check it out.
Okay. So let me ask you, is it even possible to replace Biden at this stage of the game? And have Republicans considered replacing their candidate, as Sonny pointed out, with someone who isn't a twice impeached serial liar and a convicted felon?
Well, clearly the Republicans have not, right? As Anna just mentioned, they're not going to do. They're going to fall in line, unlike the Democrats. I liked what I saw from Kamala. I liked what I saw from Gavin. She said he had a slow start, but a strong finish. But I've been watching him for 3.5 years, and I know what he can do. With Kamala, the vice president, by his side, that gives me great comfort. With Gavin Newsom as a potential successor, that gives me great comfort. I have no comfort in who would succeed Donald Trump because he said that he's going to be a dictator from day one.
Yeah.
So in my view, if we're going to talk about successors, yes, you may want to talk about a Hakeem Jeffries, the way, you may want to talk about Hakeem, the way Nancy Pelosi looked inside of herself and passed the baton. You may want to do that. You may want to think about Pete Buttigieg, who I'm not sure if this country is ready for a gay president, but I think he's certainly qualified. And Gavin Newsom, again, qualified, is the governor, runs one of the largest economies in the world. But again,
I think people think of him as too liberal, don't you?
I don't think so. I think he's ready. I think any of those people are ready. But remember, we have Joe Biden and we have the vice president of the United States who looked very strong last night.
She did.
It's insane to me, man, the world that these women must live in. I mean, I am so freaking confused watching some of these propagandists react to what we're seeing surrounding the president, man. And it's almost impossible to tell which of these people are confused or just so high on their own gas and which ones are just truly disgusting, soulless, lying shills. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, honestly, let me know in the comments, do they really believe that Joe Biden is capable and that Kamala Harris is a strong option? I just do not see how that's possible. I do not see how any normal, well-adjusted person can believe that. I mean, for them to believe any of that, they basically have to believe every lie that they've ever told. And at the same time, not have listened to anything at all that anyone else has ever said or shown them. And I mean, Sonny Hostin just sat there and said that Joe Biden gave a strong performance. And whatever Kamala was doing with Anderson Cooper, that was strong. That wasn't good either.
Joe Biden is extraordinarily strong. And
I'm sorry,
that
on
cannot
substance
be
and
debated.
policy and performance tonight, I mean, the president's performance tonight clearly was disappointing for his supporters. CNN is reporting Democratic lawmakers watching the debate were worried about the president's performance. One said it was a disaster. Another called it a train wreck. Those are Democrats especially worried that Biden did not punch back on Trump's lies.
Listen, people can debate on style points, but ultimately this election and who is the president of the United States has to be about substance. And the contrast is clear. Look at what happened during the course of the debate. Donald Trump lied over and over and over again, as he is wont to do.
Dude, ultimate gas, man. I mean, she says, basically, don't worry about his style. Don't worry about his brain or his ability to make words. Consider his substance. I mean, she says, think of the contrast. I mean, here's where we're at. I mean, Joe Biden may be about to make her president at any possible moment. But she says we're not supposed to care about that because Donald Trump is a liar. And Joe Biden, he's a beacon of truth. He's the only president to never, ever lose a soldier. And on top of that, he's a civil rights hero.
True. But the president of the United
facts are
States
very
was not
important.
able to make that case to Donald Trump on the stage tonight. I mean, you debated against then Vice President Vice President Biden 4 years ago, and he was a very different person on the stage 4 years ago when you debated him. You must, I mean, that's certainly true, is it not?
I'm going to do a quick flashback to that just for a couple reasons. I mean, the first being that Anderson is right, you know, completely different person, and we should probably review that. But also I want to show it because it marks probably the one and only time that Kamala Harris combined actual truth with the ability to form words that actually go together.
And I agree with you when you commit yourself to the importance of finding common ground. But I also believe, and it's personal, and I was actually it was hurtful to hear you talk about the reputations of two United States senators who built their reputations and career on the segregation of race in this country. And it was not only that, but you also worked with them to oppose busing.
Look, everything I've done in my career, I ran because of civil rights. I continue to think we have to make fundamental changes in civil rights. And those civil rights, by the way, include not just only African Americans, but the LGBT community.
But Vice President Biden, do you agree today that you were wrong to oppose busing in America then?
No.
Do you agree?
I did not oppose busing in America. What I opposed is busing ordered by the Department of Education. That's what I opposed.
Well, there was a failure of states to integrate public schools in America. I was part of the second class to integrate Berkeley, California public schools almost 2 decades after Brown v. Board of Education.
Because your city council made that decision. It was a local decision.
So that's where the federal government must step in. That's why we have the Voting Rights Act and the Civil Rights Act. That's why we need to pass the Equality Act. That's why we need to pass the ERA, because
yeah. I mean, Dad, it's absolutely right. I mean, it is a completely different person. Looks different, sounds different. I mean, that Joe Biden actually understood states' rights, even though, I mean, honestly, I don't think civil rights is a states' right issue, but he absolutely did oppose busing. But I think he probably put it better back then, not better. He put it the best way he possibly could. And it had nothing to do with anyone's rights. I think his exact words were something like, I don't want my kids to grow up in a racial jungle. That's who these people have pinned their hopes and dreams on. But anyway, I don't need to talk about every bad thing. I mean, this would be a 3-hour video if we go into every horrible Biden fact. Probably even the first chapter of horrible Biden facts would be a very, very long video. That's not my point. The point is, he was a different person back then, just 4 years ago. And Kamala is going to prove once again that she has absolutely zero clue. Because Anderson Cooper says, look, people are scared shitless at what they saw. And Kamala said, you know, don't mind what you saw. Don't judge him off a 90-minute debate. Judge him off what he does. And Anderson, he's pretty sharp on this. He says, yeah, that's exactly the point. What he does is what scares the shit out of people.
Anderson, the point has to be performance in terms of what a president does. A president who incites an insurrection against the Capitol. No. But I got the point that you're making about a 1.5-hour debate tonight. I'm talking about 3.5 years of performance in work that has been historic.
But
whether
is that
it be
the man who we saw on the stage tonight, is that the person you see in meetings every day?
The person that you saw on the debate stage that has, for the last 3.5 years, up until today, performed in a way that has been about, whether it be in the Oval Office, negotiating bipartisan deals so that we have an infrastructure, a real infrastructure plan where we're putting trillions of dollars on the streets of America to upgrade our infrastructure. Whether it be the person I see in the Oval Office who is meeting with heads of the military and the intelligence community and in the Situation Room, ensuring the safety of America. The person I see in Joe Biden on the world stage, convening world leaders who often ask for his advice. most recently just during the G7 conference. So I'm not going to spend all night with you talking about the last 90 minutes when I've been watching the last 3.5 years of performance.
Honestly, I appreciate what she's trying to do here, but I think the really, really easy question to ask is, if he can do all those things, how can he not answer simple questions from friendly moderators in an empty room after a week of sequestered preparation with the help of almost 24 administration officials and aides? I mean, she's not describing the same person. I don't think that's an unreasonable question to ask. She's not describing the same person. And the people, the American people, we're not stupid. So we're not buying Joe Biden, but I think we're buying her even less. And she knows that they just have got to hold this clown car together, just get it across the finish line, and she will literally be the real life character from Veep. I mean, and just think about this. I mean, this is what Democrats have become. I mean, this is what all the smart, tolerant, accepting, enlightened intellectuals came up with through all their media and party manipulations. They came up with Joe Biden and Kamala freaking Harris. It's still, all these years into this nightmare, I still can't freaking believe that, man. And I'm not the only one.
If not Biden, who would it be? And that's where it would get very complicated, because the logical place you would look if the president steps aside is the vice president, Kamala Harris. And hey, she ran for president once. You assume she has presidential ambitions. Here's the issue there. She's very well known, and this is her favorable, unfavorable score in 2 recent polls. And frankly, compare it to Biden. She's 41% favorable in the Fox News poll. In that same poll, Joe Biden was 44%. So he's at 3 points less. In the Economist YouGov poll, same poll, Joe Biden was sitting at 39%. She's at 37%. So if you're looking to the vice president, you have to ask yourself, does that actually put you, if you're a Democrat, in a better position politically? And then the question would become, if you say it doesn't, would Kamala Harris also agree to step aside and let a brand new ticket come in? Or is that something she would fight? Would you have complications there? But if you got to that next level and it's not Kamala Harris, then the issue is stature. Who of any stature could you put in who Democrats would agree on, there'd be consensus immediately, and maybe who the country knows? And there's not much polling on some of the names that you hear. This was conducted by Ipsos for an interest group earlier this year. And there's a lot of names I would like to test, but these are the 3 that they did test in this poll, just to give you a sense of it. Pete Buttigieg, favorable 30, unfavorable 28. That's still a lot who don't know him. Gavin Newsom, look at that. Almost half the country doesn't have an opinion of him, but those that do, it's already double digits negative. Gretchen Whitmer, the governor of Michigan, the vast majority, no opinion of her, 17 among those who do. And again, there's other names out there you're already probably hearing, like Josh Shapiro, the governor of Pennsylvania, Amy Klobuchar, senator from Minnesota. But this is a sense of the numbers. When you get beyond Biden and Harris and those big name national figures, you get a lot of people. It's a question mark. You could see Democrats might see potential talent nationally and say a Gretchen Whitmer, but that's a big question mark. How would she be received by the public? And would that give Democrats pause? And then you start to ask the question, well, okay, is there any Democrat out there who has the kind of national stature and national popularity who could step in and immediately unite the party and be strong against Trump? And we're looking around for names here. You hear this one a lot. There is absolutely no indication she has any interest, but just to give you a sense, Michelle Obama, the last time we polled her on this question of favorable, unfavorable, now it's been a few years, but it was 57, I'll try to write this down, it was 57% favorable and just 25% unfavorable. So that's the kind of profile just in terms of, widely known, and look at that, much more popular, more than twice as popular as unpopular there in the poll. That's the kind of profile the Democrats would probably want in this situation. But beyond Michelle Obama, not sure where you could find that, Chris.
Yeah.
No, I don't think that Democrat does exist. There is no one likable enough to win. There's no one accomplished enough to win. And there's definitely, without a doubt, no one smart enough to win. This person does not exist. And this is the real world. This is not Hollywood. This is not elite. This is not some WEF fantasy insanity. There is no popular former first lady that's going to ride in on some white horse to deliver us Barry's 4th term. Oprah is not coming to save you. People like Hakeem Jeffries, literally, they are only a fantasy of the limousine liberal propagandists like Sonny Hostin. I mean, the left they have no bench. They have no hope. I mean, literally the only path for them moving forward is to lie, cheat, and steal. And the ruling class knows it, man. They can freaking taste it. And that's why they're freaking out. I mean, just keep an eye out in this clip for the insane scowl on the face of Sunny Hostin when she just hears too much reality.
I think what you saw from both of them last night, from Gavin Newsom and Kamala Harris, who are two of the names that get the most mention as possible replacements, is that they're loyal to Joe Biden. So this entire conversation of replacing Joe Biden, I don't think is feasible unless Joe Biden himself decides to what about
get
Jill?
out of the...
How much influence will Jill have on him?
I hope that the people that love him would step in, because I guarantee if that was someone I loved, I'd be up in his ear now. You gave him a chance. He deserved that reverence. He was the incumbent president. He was not primaried, but the voters have spoken on Donald Trump. As sad as that is, they have spoken. It would be discounting their votes for anyone to retreat him now. But I think the problem here is even Governor... If they were to pull back on Biden is different. He wasn't primaried. Donald Trump was primaried. They had other options and they chose him, and that's very sad.
It's very sad, she says. The voters chose Donald Trump. They overwhelmingly chose Donald Trump, actually, and that's sad, she says. Remember, as she's saying that this is sad and that's sad, these are the people that supposedly love democracy. They will fight for democracy. Their only purpose in life is to save democracy. They show up every day making their millions and millions of dollars, spreading their garbage on The View to save democracy from you and your cult. And to them, it's sad when people choose differently than them. Come on, man. I mean, if they think that's sad, I got news for them. They better prepare their minds for at least the possibility that Donald Trump gets chosen again. But it's not sad. I mean, that is how democracy works in our constitutional republic. I mean, what is sad is poor Sarah Hayes finally realizing that Joe Biden is being elder abused. I mean, she says, I wonder how much influence Jill will have. You know, I hope the people who love him will step in. I mean, dude, are they paying attention? Are these people insane? Jill Biden is in on the grift. She's the head elder abuser, man. She's the big guy's freaking manager. She got her cut, and she is still getting her cut. She may as well be the wizard. Yeah.
Sonny, about the reason you'd vote for him. Like, I know 3.5 years. That's what all of us who would vote for him would say. The problem here are those people that are wavering, that are dissatisfied, that are unhappy. Don't say, don't look at that debate. No, that's not it. That is not helpful. And at this point, if the Democratic voice pieces do not pivot, they will lose in November.
Look at the
look at
all of that.
But again, this isn't about decided voters. This is the undecided voters who will determine this election. I don't know people under 30 who are going to turn out for either candidate after last night. I was hearing from people who are horrified. They were embarrassed by it. It got into like their golf handicaps and this like pissing match between octogenarians. It's not right. It's beneath us as a nation. And listen, Joe Biden is a good man. I think he loves this country. I think he's a patriot. I think
he's not a felon.
The history books will remember him well if he passes the baton.
This is the conservative that they have around to make themselves look fair and balanced, by the way. And I'll give it, she's good looking. And she makes a pretty fantastic punching bag for Joy Behar at least 3 or 4 times a week. That is her purpose. That and just saying ridiculously stupid things like what she just said. She said that she believes that Joe Biden is a good man and that history is going to remember him well. That is just fully and completely insane. History is going to remember a guy that was wrong on every consequential foreign policy decision in his entire 60-year career. Every single one. They're going to remember a guy that turned justice on Catholics and political opponents while literally using that same Justice Department to protect his family. That's what they're going to remember. They're going to remember a guy that literally was a segregationist and a verified racist who somehow convinced the world that he was a civil rights hero the entire time. They're going to remember that. They're going to remember a guy whose daughter's diary wonders if he did or did not abuse her. You know, I mean, the list goes on. They're going to remember, probably going to remember a guy who was a complete disaster and disgrace. I mean, they are not going to remember anything good or redeeming.
Baton. If he stays in, and he will lose to Donald Trump, he's losing in every battleground poll. Give it 2 weeks till people process this debate. He will be plummeting. You know, he risks turning this country over to Donald Trump.
These people who are like sitting on the fence or something, or we're all in for Trump. I'm fascinated by that.
What are we even watching, man? Joy Behar, professional shill, seriously accomplished liar, and a complete and total lunatic. and she is fascinated by anyone who could support Trump or anyone who could be undecided. I mean, she watched the same debate, and she's fascinated by anyone who just isn't sure. That's insane. The only thing she's truly fascinated by is the fact that there are still people in the world who, after almost 10 years of constant exposure, haven't succumbed to their bullshit. That's the only thing that could possibly fascinate someone like Joy Behar. I mean, these people, it's just crazy. They're crazy. They're completely insane, and they're about to prove it.
You know, it's almost like, you know when you're a woman and you're dating, so you have a really nice guy who takes your, holds your pocketbook while you're shopping, you know, or like really treats you well, and you're bored with him.
And you got
this
the dude
other
on the
one
motorcycle.
who's a convicted felon on a motorcycle. You're hot for him.
Yeah.
He's the guy, you know? That's where
and who grabs you by the hoo-ha without your consent.
Exactly. But have you seen, listen, have you seen, there were photographs of Trump supporters, and one of them said, "You can grab me by the anytime, Donald."
Listen, I'm perfectly okay with Donald Trump grabbing her by the hoo-ha. I'm not okay with Donald Trump grabbing the United States of America by our pride.
Yes.
These are not serious people, man. This is a scary place. This is a room that is filled to capacity with insane, cackling, lonely, intellectually victimized women. I mean, they cannot meaningfully talk about what it is they all saw during the debate. I mean, they have to convince each other that it didn't happen, that it wasn't real. You know, it happened live, so it couldn't be a cheap fake, but, you know, Joe Biden had a cold, and he's just a really good, well-meaning guy with a poor memory. I mean, he's the kind of guy you'd let hold your purse. You know, I mean, these are not serious people. No one gives a shit if Joe Biden means well. Only complete idiots believe that Joe Biden means well. But even if it is true, even if he does mean well, no one cares. We care about results. We care about the future. And if Joe Biden's present is any indication of what we can expect in the future, it doesn't matter how well he means. He's a freaking disaster. But I mean, you get that. I get that. And according to the polls, almost everyone else is starting to get that. So these are not serious people, but it sure as hell is entertaining to watch them cope, man. You almost can't beat it. But that's just my take, guys. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you haven't already, be a part of our growth. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Most importantly, share the channel. I'll see you in the next one.